December the 9th at 5:30 p.m. Commissioner Teacher, would you mind saying a prayer for us, brother?
Heavenly Father, we love you so much. I thank you for all the many blessings, Lord. I know that on any given night, Lord, in the world or in America or in Sumner County, Lord, where we love you so much, I know there's folks that are jumping up and down and having a great time, and folks that are hurting right now, Lord, whether it be financially or some kind of a sickness or something like that, Lord, or their marriages, or Lord, their relationship, Lord, with you. I just pray that you'll please just allow us to be conscious and cognizant of that, of those hurts, Lord. Myself included, Lord, I pray that I really am, that I care about each individual whenever that I cast my vote, whether it be by voice, like it is tonight, Lord, or in the main full commission. Lord, I pray that you please, even if there's disagreements, Lord, I pray that you please help me to love my fellow commissioners, Lord, in every way. And I pray that we will have unity, Lord, not in a common ground, Lord, but just like a true desire to help the folks here and do our best to help them in every way, Lord. I think about it more every day, and I pray that you please just guide us, direct us. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve. And Lord, allow us to have servant's heart in Jesus' name.
Amen. All right, we have a quorum, so do we have a motion for approval of the agenda?
If I may, if you want to put this in with the meeting dates for county commission, I just wanted this committee to be aware that Columbus Day will affect this meeting in 2025. If y'all wanted to entertain talking about the date or leave it alone.
Well, that's in here, we can talk about that. Right? For number 9.
You're talking about the legislative.
I'm talking about legislative specifically.
This item is for the full commission, not the legislative, so. We can address that when we get to it.
I just wanted to point that out before you approve the agenda.
I mean, you're asking us to address Columbus Day meeting for the legislative committee?
If you choose to.
Then you say it falls on the same day as.
We don't have to do that one now.
Okay.
I'm requesting, whether we should add this to the agenda or not, to get that day, and status. Brown, trust.
We need to make a motion.
Can we add that to the agenda and legislate, is that proper? I just want to do an update.
I second.
So is that your motion? Yes. All right, please state your motion.
To get an update on the transfer from the Vanguard Trust to the county commission.
All right, I'm gonna put that under the board of chair. Without objection. Okay. All right, that addition, I had a motion by Commissioner Teacher, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion for approval of minutes.
Make a motion.
Motion for Commissioner Teacher to approve, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Recognition of the public, I have none. For the chairman, Mr. Mayor, that email and passed about the Vanguard we mentioned last week, just to clarify, if you can give us a status update.
Yeah, it hasn't been changed yet, so I'm still waiting on communication from Vanguard.
Any idea?
I mean, hopefully, I was hoping that it'd been done last week, but
What you said? Okay. Okay.
It was requested, we started going down the trail and asked if we could get a date, get a phone call to the Vanguard Trust, and we get a date of notice that was done, rather than wait. Ask somebody how long this was typically take. Once it was asked for, they did that day, reported back to us. We were headed off, and rather than have all that discussion, the mayor said that it's going to be done by Friday or Monday at the latest. And so.
that's not accurate.
Well, I'd like to restate what exactly was said then, and then I would still like to push for a phone call to find out what the timeline is, the timeline. I'm waiting to access the board.
I'll address that. I don't have a motion. So, County Mayor, we'd asked him in his office, he gave us a status of Friday or for Monday. You know, there was no, like, it's gonna be, these are 2 dates he gave, so.
You're welcome to go review the tape, and what I did say is, I said, hopefully it will happen this week, which is what I hoped it would do. And I said, if it happens on Monday of next week, we'll work to make the transfer then.
Correct, and it has not happened.
And it has not happened as of Monday.
I guess to satisfy questions, like how long ago did you ask? Just trying to figure out like how long this process takes with Vanguard. Is there anything you can help us understand?
Well, Vanguard told me once they receive it, it's 3 to 5 days. So that time has passed.
Okay, so it's been probably 3 to 5 weeks in that time, 3 weeks at least probably.
Well, based on when they received the document, we sent it, return receipt. Once they sent the signature back to us, and that's when I started counting days. That's why I said hopefully last week.
So you had to send an official form. You got to send an official form to Vanguard for those changes.
That's correct.
They did get a receipt from that form. I guess you sent it certified mail last night.
Exactly. Yep.
When was that?
I don't have that date in front of me.
All right. I don't think there's anything else we can do.
I mean, can we ask them for a phone call to find out?
Would it be possible for you to call Vanguard and ask them?
I'll be happy to try to call them. Remember, they're not a boutique shop. They're a big organization. They work at their pace, not my pace. So, but I'll be happy to make a phone call tomorrow if I have time.
I have one question. So that's been in that Vanguard account since 2019. And so, like, I'm just curious, like, what's the proper protocol for how that, because with that being set aside, I'm sorry, with that being set aside, what's the protocol now moving forward that there's been 5 years ish of growth that was meant to be in the house account? What's that even look like? Is that a gray area? Have we discussed that, or we don't?
We addressed it in the resolution, $500,000 plus interest accrued.
Yeah, we did say that, I'm sorry. I
It's all been addressed.
I forgot, yeah.
This point is just, so.
I missed that.
Mr. Mayor, would
It'll
you
be
mind?
500,000 plus the accrued interest.
Correct.
It's in a separate account. It's easy to document.
Would you mind calling tomorrow? You said you
No
would, so
problem.
thank
If
you.
I have time, I'll be happy.
So I don't think there's anything to thank you for that. Well, I know we're gonna be dealing with this. I'll follow up. Sound good? Yep. All right. Report is kind of big.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, old business, discussion constables. I'll make a motion to suspend the rules. We have guests here to discuss this issue. Second by Commissioner Miller, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We got Chris Griffin, who has been with us several months, addressing this issue. And Jacob, what was your last name? Thompson. Jacob Thompson is from East Tennessee and was formerly with the Constable Association, and has agreed to come and answer some questions for us. And you gentlemen can come up here and stand and give the committee. Yeah, we do. Yeah, talk. Chris, would you mind, I know you had said, reached out to me and said you had a chance to meet the sheriff and talk to him. Would you mind kind of elaborating, because I know there were some questions about the sheriff's opinion, and I had shared in previous meetings that I met with the sheriff, had one with him, and Deputy Chief Greer, and we talked about this, and I know you did as well. So would you, and you had spoken with him, would you mind sharing
Yes.
kind of that conversation?
Sure, I had a meeting with, Eric Tradick and, Deputy Greer, and, it went really well. You know, when I came in, we talked about, you know, the benefits to the county and everything else, and, Sheriff Tradick didn't endorse nor, you know, dog it out either. He was really, came out with, solutions to, questions that he had. We did do it in ways that we could work in cohesion together. You know, he talked about uniforms, firearms training, the type of firearms that the constable would carry, you know, to match what the sheriff's deputy did in case we went on call together. Talked about, you know, doing all of our the 40-hour training, the firearms training, and everything with the sheriff's departments and actually working together as a group. You know, Deputy Greer was, you know, said basically the same thing. And then we talked about everything from, you know, the past, the future, and what we could do to, you know, work cohesively as a group. And it was a real good conversation. I mean, we talked about, you know, solutions instead of anything negative at all. It was really a positive conversation. And then I reached out to several different, he tasked me with getting him sheriffs who works with constables throughout the thing. So I reached out to a handful of constables and just found out, you know, give me some sheriffs that y'all work with, that y'all talk to. I call and talk to the sheriffs, and then Sheriff Craddock has emailed them and has reached out to them to get some talk about, you know, their experience with them and everything else, just so he can get some more clarification on what they do together and stuff. So, all in all, we moved forward really well, I thought. You know, we talked about some of the benefits to having police authority and some of the things that the sheriff's department, you know, really doesn't have the time for, or, you know, the budget for. And, you know, the stuff that came up, I spoke with another commissioner about the problem at Liberty Creek with the traffic issue that they're having in the mornings and stuff, about, you know, how the constable could come in and fill that role and stuff, and then the constable could do standby work for the sheriff's department instead of pulling a deputy off of patrol all day long. You know, you can bring the constable in and it doesn't cost the county any money. So that was really some of the highlights of what it is. But Jacob has a whole lot more knowledge about all of this stuff. So, yes.
One quick question.
Sure.
You might have just answered it as a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you've done a great job of explaining. I'm not going to go off in point of order if you call me, but I'm just saying, I appreciate it. But I was going to say, I really think that there was one question that I believe our attorney was worried about, the insurance. Did you find out anything about what would happen in that?
Yes. Yes, he can answer everything that you need to know, everything about being a constable, everything about the insurance, the liability, the benefits, and working with the different things. He's done a lot. I did research on him too before, you know, we got that right down. I mean, he's won constable of the year in 2020. I mean, he's done a lot. So, and he's lobbied for young when, you know, commissioners had issues. And say the constables, the office constable in different cities, different towns. So, awesome. There you go.
If would you mind sharing a little bit, I guess, one of the questions that the teacher has asked is about, making sure about lawsuits, liability, and, you know, we attached Chris with, just coming back more information just for all the record and anything else, but anything you can just kind of share with how, obviously, Sumner County program got shut down from the, law enforcement portion back in 2010, but not the other portion, as far as like service and warrants and stuff. But anything you can help us in this?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much for allowing me to speak before you tonight. This is a beautiful courthouse. I'd say this and Bradley County are probably the two nicest ones I've been in, talking about constables. But I just want to cover a few kind of bases, just to make sure we're all on the same page before I get to your questions there. There's a lot of confusion about the office of constable, not just in Sumner County, but across the state. There are over half of the counties in the state that still have constables. Out of those 50 counties that still have constables, there's just 3 that do not have law enforcement powers. And currently 2 of those are you know, asking themselves, why do we take them away? You know, why don't we give them back? You know, what is a constable? Why have them? You know. So, first off, what is a constable? And that is an elected county official who has the same jurisdiction and authority that the sheriff does, but they have no salary, no budget, and no deputies. So the Constitution, first Constitution states in 1796 that each county shall have
a sheriff, a coroner, a trustee, and a sufficient number of constables. And until 1977, we were a mandated office. Each county had to have us. And in 1834, they added into the Constitution that explained the jurisdiction of said officers shall be coextensive with the county, which coextensive means within. They had an option. So they had the option, whether we keep them, do we not? And they added in some population brackets that determined whether or not a county could have a constable or not. And the biggest thing, two things that I always answer for commissions is training and liability. And sheriffs have done a lot better at job at sticking together and getting legislation passed to raise their standards and qualifications. And the past 7 or 8 years, the constables have been trying to play catch up. So we'll get to that in a few more minutes. What do they do? That's another question we get a lot. And what a constable does is up to them. The only thing they have to do is their training. They can patrol roads and help answer emergency calls. They can serve civil process. The only authority that the sheriff has over the constable is if he gives the constable paper and says, go serve this paper, the constable has to do that. That's all the statutory authority the sheriff has over them. But it varies from different counties. My county, we answer 911 calls. That's our primary function. Whenever the sheriff is understaffed, or if they're just really busy and have calls holding, the sheriff or one of his sergeants call us and say, hey, send a text out, we need some calls. We'll come out and help answer calls.
What county is that?
Jefferson. And our next county over, Sevier County, their primary focus is civil process. They serve 97% of all process that comes out of Sumner County. And while they're out doing that, if they're close to a call, they'll answer that emergency as well. So that's kind of what they do. Well, why have constables? There's many reasons, but a few of the main reasons for myself. If you have a county that does not have constables with law enforcement powers, and you live in the county portion, outside of the city limits, you have, without a constable with law enforcement powers, you have no one else to turn to besides the sheriff. There are many aspects about that, whether the sheriff is unable to do something about your problem due to, budgeting or staffing or call volume, or, if you have a sheriff that has some other reason why he won't answer your call. Maybe you have a problem with speeding in your community. Or maybe you have some other type of, general complaint, or maybe you have some type of, criminal action that's going on that needs to be addressed that maybe you just can't, for whatever reason, not for any wrong reason, but just for whatever reason you can't do anything. If you're outside the city limits, you have no one else to turn to. That's it, just the sheriff. And we see a movement across America right now that's asking for, accountability for governments and checks and balances of power and authority. So having just that one person in a county that has the authority of the sheriff, that's kind of concerning. We've had a lot of people that have started movements just about that topic alone. But to answer some of your questions, the training issue, the training question, believe it or not, 10 years ago, a constable only had to do 40 hours initially and 8 hours annually of training. We as constables, we have the Tennessee Constables Association, have hundreds of members. We have 378 constables across the state, and over half of them are members of that association. We meet every year and we vote. What can we do to better the office? What can we do to preserve the office? And constables themselves have raised that annual training to the same as every other officer in the state carries a badge and gun. That's 40 hours annually. The association, which is who you have to get your certificate from, also requires the same subject hours as required by the sheriff's office and the police department. So it defines how many hours of each subject you have to have annually. Another thing that we passed in just recent years is mental health evaluation. In order to run for constable, you have to have And, so we got that in just a few years ago. That's required for all new constables. So if you have a constable who is already a constable and he continues to be a constable without a break of service, they don't have to do that, but any new constable does. So if that constable quits for a day and gets voted back in, or appointed back in, a few weeks later, he has to get that done. Some other legislation that is going before the state this year is the 128-hour initial training requirement. So what that would do is raise our initial training requirement to the same as part-time and reserve deputies. Most constables are not out here doing this 40 hours a week. They would really fit more the duties and responsibilities of a part-time or a reserve deputy. So we definitely want to get those initial training requirements up to the same as them. The sheriffs, they've gotten these laws passed over the years, and I commend them for it. They just kind of left us out of it, and we want to be right there with it. And we realize that if the office of constable is going to remain and be preserved, we're going to have to eventually come up to the exact same standards, and that's what we're trying to work towards. We're trying to raise them a little bit at a time, so that you don't see the office just vanish, that you see it improve through the years. Another thing we passed in recent years is, it used to be a problem with constables wanting to be speed drivers. They go out and run radar and pull people over for speeding, and every ticket they wrote that had a conviction was $27 in their pocket, So constables ourselves lobbied to get that changed to just $1. So speeding citations only make us $1. So there's no constable out here doing speed driving for speeders. But there's several things like that we have tried to do to improve the office and raise the accountability for constables. So I did mention that the sheriff has no statutory authority over the constable. I think that's the beauty of having a constable, is you have two people in the county that you can turn to for, your law enforcement issues. But county commission can exercise some authority over constables. As you know, you can strip their law enforcement powers. You can abolish the office. Both of those are 2/3 majority vote at 2 consecutive meetings. But this also ties into your liability question, and that is that the county absolutely 100% is liable for a constable, just like they are any county official or any county employee. But the Tennessee Governmental Tort Liability Act allows you to insure yourselves for your elected officials. So it says, you can insure your elected officials so that anything they do, the county is protected from them. My county, Jefferson County, was able to include us on their general and law enforcement liability policies, and it didn't increase their rates at all. So they looked at it as 11 additional officers, and it didn't meet another bracket, as far as their price. So it didn't cost them anything to add us to those insurance policies. So back to that, well, what authority do we have over them other than abolishing them or taking their law enforcement powers? Well, you can say, in order to be on our insurance policies, you have to have a completion of in-service certificate from the Tennessee Constables Association. The statutes already say, in order to use blue lights, which you have to do to perform any law enforcement function, you have to have the certificate from that association. But unfortunately, right now, this is one thing we're working on. Right now, there's no one checking that. So, if you're elected constable and you don't complete your training, but you don't do anything, there's no one calling and saying, "Hey, constable, you've not completed your training. We need you to complete it." That's unlike the post commission. If you have an officer that's with the sheriff's office and they do their training, the post is making a phone call and saying, "Hey, where's this guy?" That's some accountability we're trying to push next year, because we have some other legislation that's going this year. But that's something that you all can do is say, hey, if you want to be on our insurance, you have to provide us this certificate by, March 1st of each year. And if you don't, you're not on insurance. And I think, someone who's doing this as a law enforcement officer right here on their own, they're not going to want to go out and do that without that protection. Also, I don't know who owns your all radio frequencies, whether it's your 911 center or your sheriff. It can be owned by several different people, but you can also put that requirement where, hey, if you want access to our radios, you know, at our frequencies, you have to provide us with this certificate showing you completed your training. So there's things like that you can do to hold your constables accountable. You know, and people also will say, well, constables are bonded. But we are, it's called a surety bond. The same thing you all have to pay for every 4 years as a commissioner. And that's not a liability thing. That's really not related to what we're going to do as constables. But we still have to have them as elected officials saying that we're going to faithfully carry out our duties.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
You said the county commission, until the legislation has changed to where you guys as a association can hold them accountable, the county commission can require the post certification in order to ensure them to serve, right?
I wouldn't say post certification, but the certification from the Constables Association. So there's a problem about post certification with constables, and that is the other one of two bills that are going before legislation this year that we've already got sponsorship on and endorsement from the members. That is currently, if let's say you retire or leave the sheriff's office or police department, you're already post certified and you want to serve as constable and you get elected, even though you're doing the same exact in-service training as any other officer in the state, you cannot keep your certification through the post just by serving as constable and meeting those training requirements. So just as railroad police officers and campus police officers have a section in that statute that allows them to obtain and retain post certification, this legislation is asking the state to add in there a section for constables that says if the constable has met the training requirements required by post, then post shall issue them a certificate and certify them. So that's the two legislative bills that will be before the state this year: the 128-hour initial training requirement, and then the post statute, which would not require constables to be post certified, that says if they want to be, they can.
But until that passes, the Constable Association holds a certification also that we could ask for. Is it adequate or comparable to that of a police officer?
It is comparable to the annual training as any other police officer. So it's the same exact training requirement as far as subject hours and the total amount of hours, same exact thing. It just comes from the TCA. You could really say that the TCA, in a way, is the post for constables, because they can't be post certified right now, and the statutes require them to have their training from the TCA. So in a roundabout way, you could say they are the post for constables.
And that would be adequate for criminal enforcement duties as well as just serving warrants?
Yes, it will be adequate for what law requires of constables and other officers for their annual incidents.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
One quick question, breakdown. Are typically, and it may be all the time, you may say it always, typically are cars marked or not marked?
So the statute does not require them to be marked. It says they may, not shall. So they may be white with a brown stripe, and that no other agency in the state can use that car design. And it says that this is not to prevent constables from using unmarked vehicles for other law enforcement purposes. And there is no definition of patrol in the statute. So there is some uncertain areas there, but it does say that we can use unmarked vehicles for other law enforcement purposes. I think the main thing to remember about that is most constables are not out doing a lot of traffic enforcement. Most constables across the state answer 911 calls. And it's very expensive to buy vehicles and stripe it and put lights on it. So I think that's why lawmakers put that in there, so that it doesn't prevent them from using that until they can afford to get them on the car. But no, it's not required.
Oh, I was going to say, I actually like that because I didn't want to make an extra burden on if someone is elected constable, that they got to go out and buy it. If they didn't want to, or if they did want to, it doesn't matter. I mean, that kind of, I like that fact. It's a little bit ambiguous.
Myself,
is there a gun requirement? Is there a certain handgun they have to have?
they cannot use a revolver.
He covered that with being compatible with sheriff. Compatible, but I didn't know if it has to be compatible. Okay, that was a question to sheriff. If that's what she.
The statutes say we cannot use a revolver. That's one thing it says.
Got it. Okay. That's very.
That's everything that I had, wrote down here to talk about, but any questions at all you have, I won't tell you anything if I can't back it up and back it why.
Sure.
I was leaning toward this. I've gotten a couple of, negative comments. One was on liability issue.
Absolutely.
But let me ask you this, what is the opinion of CTAS on constables? I meant to call, and I have not had a chance to talk with them.
So CTAS doesn't necessarily provide opinions. They will provide you, here's the statutes, the laws that govern this topic you're asking about. And if you all wanted to consider the idea of reinstating law enforcement powers of constables in Sumner County, CTAS would be the person that would help you do that according to the law. But they don't necessarily provide an opinion. Now, the Attorney General provides opinions on what he interprets the law to mean. And everything that I have said tonight, I think just about all of it, I have an Attorney General opinion that can answer those questions. One being, the jurisdiction and authority of the constable, the Governmental Tort Liability Act, and there's several other things I've spoken about. I have Attorney General's opinions, but CTAS wouldn't provide an opinion, but they could provide you the statutes or constitutional law or anything like that you're looking for a constable.
And the other question I have is, we, unlike many counties, we have a number of cities in this county, maybe 7 or 8. And I know that many years ago, in some of those jurisdictions, there was not a pleasant working relationship with municipalities and constables fiddling around in municipal affairs. What do you have to say about that?
So that is a problem that I've even faced in my own county before. But we remedied that by meeting regularly with that chief of police, informing him of a lot of the things I've informed you about tonight. Letting them know where we stand and what we're trying to do. As far as any type of statutes or anything else, the chief of police would not have any control over that constable. But once again, there's things that chief of police could do, to say, hey, constable, if you want us to help you out, you have to establish a relationship with you, with us, and, you need to let us know, provide us proof or something that you've done your training, because I don't want my officers to be out here and getting into something with you if you've not, met the requirements you're supposed to have. That's really up to each constable to establish that relationship. Just like, county commissioners go out in their communities and establish relationships with their constituents, and maybe their chiefs of police in their district or something, that would be up to each individual constable. So, if you did appoint constables into a position that's already here and reinstate the law enforcement powers, I would make sure to talk to the chiefs of police and the sheriff and say, hey, here's some people in my district that I'd like to nominate. What are your thoughts when you work with these people? And if we get this legislation passed about post-training or post-certification, I think you're going to see a lot more retired officers who want to keep their certification run for constables. So you're going to have, people who are already trained, experienced, wanting that position. You're out here, running for it and trying to get elected because they want to keep their certification, whether, they want to go work again in the future or run for another office, or whatever. That's definitely a certification you don't want to lose, especially if you're at retirement age, because the academy is pretty tough,
And that is one thing that I talked with Sheriff Craddock about was, because we are in the position now since the office of constable is still open and the commissioners can appoint constables until the next election. I would ask him, I said, if this does happen to go through, do you have any retired deputies or anybody that that you could bring to the commission to go ahead and start it with people that you trust and, try to go ahead and establish that the office has some credibility and some people that they already have a working relationship with, and he was open to that too.
As far as how many constables you have, that's up to the legislative body. just cannot have more than half as many constables as you do commissioners. So you couldn't have more than 12 constables. I mean, you could definitely start out with a smaller number, you know, say we're gonna have a constable for north, south, east, west, you know, and, kind of one, right, if that's all you get. You could even have one, have a constable large, and that way it gives you some time to establish how this is gonna go, you know.
I'm sorry, you can make them all as large, couldn't you, technically?
I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest with you. I don't have an answer to that.
It's okay, if you need help, certainly,
I'll be glad to help you.
I don't think it matters that much.
I know that you cannot have no more than half as many as you do commissioners, and your county seat, the district that holds your county seat, can have 2. Now, there's some contradictions to that, because I've got some counties that have 3 or 4 constables each district, you know, but I guess it means that you can have 1 extra in that seat if you choose to.
That's somewhat irrelevant, because actually the jurisdiction of the constable is countywide.
That's correct. It's just, and what happens in like my county is I'm elected in the 5th district. If I'm gonna go patrol, that's the road I'm gonna drive on. But when a call comes out, if I'm closest or I'm the closest backed up, I go wherever.
That makes sense. You had mentioned that you had the Attorney General's opinion, that you did it, you talking about Attorney General State's committee?
Say that last part one more time, I didn't quite hear.
Have you got, Attorney General's committee's opinion on that? You said you had mentioned you had
I'm not
Attorney General's opinion.
Yes, so the Attorney General's website, you can search constable and see several opinions that have been established. Most recently, there was one, and I believe it was May, that cited some previous opinions on the jurisdiction. But yeah, we have Attorney General opinions on file from, like, that one be from this year, maybe from the Attorney General you're talking about, I'm not sure his name.
The state is committee, but I didn't know if you meant per county.
No, the Attorney General, the state attorney.
Attorney General's in office. You're talking about, just forget who the person is. I'm talking about the Attorney General's opinion. Whether it's 30 years ago, 50 years ago, or 5 years ago.
Yeah, not your district attorney, but the Attorney General. For the state.
That's awesome.
Now, even though you are insured, suppose you go out and, have a, say an accident with, while you were in performing your duties with a civilian, is that covered, or could that in any way be carried over in liability to the county?
Anything can be carried over in liability to the county. You can sue for anything, whether you'll get it or not, that's a question I don't know, because that would be specific to the judge or the jury. But I will say that a constable, if they're gonna have blue lights on their vehicle, they need to have commercial vehicle insurance. And that commercial vehicle insurance is gonna cover the actual accident. But as far as any actions taken by the constable before or after could be liable to the county.
Just like the second officer.
Yes.
And you're not gonna remove liability. If you're performing a police function, and you get in an accident, or you shoot somebody, or somebody shoots you, or a dog bites you,
High school game.
same as a sheriff deputy. I mean, just all the same rules apply.
Or county commissioner.
Elected official.
So are we covered?
No, we're not covered.
No, but it would be right because of an elected official. That's what they would be classified as.
So it'd just be up to us to figure out if our insurance premium would go up or not by adding our.
Yes, how many officers?
To our insurance.
They might say if you add 12 of them, it's going to increase it, but if you add 6, it won't. You know, it could be something like that. And you know, that's up to you all, but if I'm going to have constables with law enforcement powers, why not protect myself? You know, and Sevier County, next door to us, they even include their constables on their health insurance, you know. But that's a cost they decided to take on because their constables serve 97% of their process out of their courts. And that frees up so much money and time from their sheriff's office. Their sheriff up there loves their constables because his deputies don't have to worry about civil process.
So, just my last question, I hope, is, I'm sorry, it's really interesting to me. I mean, I think it's an awesome gets a little blurry, especially to the folks that are watching at home, what it means to have law enforcement powers. Like, what would the normal functions be for, I know you said some things, I heard you, but, like, you know, just to say that, because I know I have a few questions that people will contact me about whether or not what that means, if law enforcement powers were there. Like, if they, I know that right now they're not active.
We gotta go, because we only have 20 minutes in this meeting, so if you can answer that question quickly, I think you got to just.
Yeah, I think that if having constable is having constable with law enforcement powers, because you have that balance of power. You know, I've been told that your sheriff, Craddock, is an absolutely great guy. My sheriff from Jeff County, he said he's a superb guy. Chris here said he's a great guy. I don't think you're gonna have any problems with your sheriff. But down the road, you might have a sheriff who chooses not to answer, you know, some problem, or he doesn't have the time or the budget to unlock a deputy to do that. This gives you someone else to turn to. Without it costing you law enforcement powers outside of the city limits, no one else can you turn to for whatever your problem is.
You mentioned commercial insurance, is that something that the individual, constable would carry himself, commercial insurance on their vehicle, to cover that part of that?
Yeah, unless y'all wanted to pay for it.
No. That's a requirement? No, that's something, well, you said that that's something they would.
It's not statute.
Is that something the county commissioner could require?
I would think that you could probably,
You mentioned like,
Steve has to be able to answer that question better than I.
require them to have, the training, constable training, so that they can get on the radar frequency or whatever.
I believe you could do a private act for Sumner County that says our constable, you'd have to reinstate the law enforcement powers to say, our constables are required to carry commercial vehicle insurance, they're required to give us a copy of their training, and if they don't complete their training, we're not gonna give them insurance, we're not gonna give them radios, we're not gonna give them, you know, the sheriff, it's up to the sheriff to do this, the sheriff to say they're not gonna have, access to NCIC if they don't complete their training. So there are stipulations you can put on that. You know, you just wouldn't be able to say you're not allowed to be constable, but if they're doing something like they have not completed their training, to find out from the TCA, then by all means, if they're doing something, they've not completed their training, it's grounds for an ouster suit, your district attorney can file that and get them out.
We gotta move on, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Chris has my contact information, I think you all have his, so any questions, I'll answer.
Thank you. All right, we'll bring this back into session. I don't think this, due to that time, I'd like to move this over to old business on
Can I
agenda.
make that motion? I make a motion that we just move forward with it. I mean, I feel like I've got all the information. I've had people reach out to me. It'd be nice to let the full commission vote on this and just move forward with the full commission, not bring it back. You know, and it's already here, and I don't know if I need to say this as a second part of my motion or if it needs to be separate, but I make a motion that Chris Griffin is brought before the full commission, or I don't know if it needs to go before committee or committee, I don't know how that works. But I think that he has put so much effort into it, and he cares so much, and that it's been amazing what I've learned from him. And so I think that we put him forward as an appointee to try to get this thing moving in the right direction, as opposed to just continue to move it down the road. So, does my motion make sense?
Chairman,
I would have to vote no if we didn't hold this over and do some of these, questions. So if we vote on it tonight, it would have to be a no vote for me.
Okay, well, can I?
for the sake of expediency, I'm gonna vote no too, and just let you know. So, only because I think this is not right. We have a lot of research, I think.
There's a lot of vetting that needs to occur. Do you want police powers? Do you not want police powers? What are the liabilities and all that?
There needs to be a plan to come forward. What is the appointment process look toward? What is reaching out to CTES? What stipulations could you put on somebody if you wanted to do that? If you wanted to experiment? If you just wanted to not do the police powers and let them just appoint somebody and not police powers? And I mean, there's a lot of different options. I don't think it's right, and we have 15 minutes.
Okay, then can I just change the motion then?
Or you can just drop it.
Can I just change it?
Okay.
Okay, so I make a motion then that, because I think the idea of law enforcement powers seems appropriate, but I mean, this is,
I'm in favor.
but, so I make a motion that Chairman Hyde, Chairman of the Commission, and you, Chairman of the Legislature, come together and form an ad hoc that would actually figure out the rest of the stuff to bring before the Commission in March of 2025. Does that make sense? Does it seem like it's fair?
No,
When, would February be more fair? I mean, what do you think?
I don't think it's necessary. I think we can do this research without going through all this formality.
I do too. I think we're overcomplicating this. I want to know on that too, so.
Okay. Well, just so we got everybody voted to know.
I'm going to move this forward to January on business, just basically tasking research on what does that appointment process look like, what are the options for police powers, no police powers, what are the options on the number of constables, limited, go to 12, make it up, right now.
Insurance budgetary impact of possible insurance.
Just want you guys to know, anybody can pull papers from a constable in 2 years. There's nothing that stops anybody. So everybody, I want everybody to understand that this table. We don't have to pull anybody. He can pull papers and run 26. As long as he gets a citing regulation. It's on the books. So this is existing. This is just if you want to speed up the process and working with. So I don't think it's right. That's why when they ask these questions, I'm glad we have Mr. Thompson here to answer these questions. I think it's been very satisfactory. We got the record and just to help, and we got a new resource and to supplement what Chris, I know he's done a great job with limited information. I like the idea of it, but I just think we need to move this to whole business for those reasons.
Okay, that's what you're saying, right, not right.
Okay, I think it's right, is what I thought I
I
saw.
want to make sure you're.
Yeah, I'm saying that, so.
All
All right, we can keep that under old business.
And we know what we're looking for, right, for January, correct?
I do.
Okay, as long as we know, I want to make sure we get that information that we need to have for everybody to make a good, honest decision.
All right.
Like it.
The discussion for property assessors appraisals, we're going to keep that under old business for next month. Mr. Hurt couldn't be here, and so I know he had questions. I know Commissioner Rogers had brought this up with all this information, and so without objection, we're going to move that old business. Veteran Service Report presentation, you go.
In the interest of time, on page 48, the typical collection of a lot of good stuff that we've done. There's a couple of negative trends and positive trends. You've been seeing an uptick in predatory targeting of some of our elderly veterans. One is highlighted in the third paragraph on page 48. We had another one already at the beginning of this month. So we've been spending a lot more time doing outreach, and spending a lot more time with our new widows. And those are both, that's a positive trend. The negative trend is that we're getting a little tapped in time and our appointment book is kind of stretching out. So I'll probably be coming to the commission during the budgetary cycle asking for another part-time VSO in the year to come.
Okay, any questions? Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate what all you do. All right, item B in the new business and the resolution of real estate transfer tax funding. So move. Second. Discussion. I'm going to make an amendment to this, or just for discussion. I think the last be it further resolved on page 51 says be it further resolved. The chairman. This is a CTAS provided thing that got sent to the Tennessee County Association's email to us back in October, I believe. It says the chairman of this county legislative body, county clerk, certified and forward this resolution to the members, but the signatory is just for the clerk and the mayor. So I don't know if we just changed that to say the county mayor, or we have a spot for the county chairman of the commission, but I just don't know. It just the last be it further resolved didn't quite. It was a little wonky to me. Mr. Roderick, I'm going to refer that to you.
Okay.
So I know this was from CTAS, but I mean, I guess it's the chairman can forward it, but I guess Chairman Ida would be forwarding it. I'd assume that your office is forwarding on his behalf.
It would be, and I could just change that to the county legislative body.
Okay. Or I mean, we can keep it chairman. I just didn't think, does it need a signature at this point? I just started looking at the details and asking. So, or we can just keep it as is or change it.
I'll go one way or the other. Which do you prefer? I can't remember the last one we sent up to the state.
I don't know. I would just say, as far as the be it further resolved, whatever the customary language is, my way that is to that we've used on anything we've sent to the state legislative body.
Will do.
All right, I got a second. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? But, Mr. Mayor, did you have, like, as far as numbers you mentioned in your email, as far as like the savings, I know this would be a great benefit to Sumner County, as far as you said you had some numbers to share with us.
Yeah, this is something that the County Mayor Association and County Officials Association has been working on for a couple of years now. And I think we've got it in a form that we can possibly get passed by the legislature. And basically what it's gonna do, it's gonna create a recurring revenue source of 5.6 million, give or take, to the county. So it'll be a nice revenue source, and basically what it is the real estate transfer tax. What we're gonna ask for is half of that real estate transfer tax. And the estimate over the last 4 years has been, $5.643 million. So I think it'll be a significant impact for our budget, certainly help on any future needs that we have.
Can I ask him a quick question? Did you discover this, Mr. Brand? Or how did we find this out?
No, this is something that we've been working on for a while. It actually, if I remember correctly, it came out of Williamson County. Mayor Rogers Anderson discovered this opportunity, and we're going to petition the state for it.
That's fantastic. Appreciate it.
Does that normally go to the state pool, and now it's going to go to the individual counties?
Yeah, if we get it passed, half of it comes to individual counties.
That's fantastic.
All right, got a motion, for the main, resolution with my amendment, so, had a second. I think Commissioner Teacher made a second. So all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Item C, resolution for judicial magistrate appointment, Vonda Graves, have a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Teacher, second. I'll second it. Is there any discussion to move this on the full commission?
What do we know about her?
I actually vetted her before magistrates were moved from my office, and, had an interview with her, and the, Thomas Akers is the, main magistrate over there, and he's done a really good job of calling and vetting, the prospective magistrates that come before us. So I've gone through, interviewed her with Mr. Akers, and, no flags jumped out at me, decent resume, and I've got nothing to say she wouldn't perform admirably at this position.
Okay. Just a question.
Any other discussions or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Item D, resolution for non-discrimination policy. I think we have to do this every year, Mr. Waterridge, if I'm not mistaken. We did this last December.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to move this to the county commission. Motion and second by Commissioner Teacher. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item E is appointment of Title VI coordinator. This is something that the law director's office has to be put on here, Mr. Law Director, so I'm going to have to open the floor to you. Discussion. Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right.
This is basically, staying on top of race, sex, religion, those kind of hiring practice problems. I've done some cursory research around other counties, and this is customarily a job that, or the coordinator is in the HR department. That would be Mr. Long, but I do not know where he would want that, and that person would also work with my office as well with any potential violations.
We don't do this tonight.
I don't think so.
Without objection, we'll move this old business for January 2nd. All right. Sorry. Item F, tourism resolution amendment. Got a motion for discussion. Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Teacher. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Floor is open. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a question as to why this is even being brought forth. I don't understand the intention of having an appointment with the automatic. That totally goes against what we had talked about on previous boards with self-perpetuating boards being a problem in the past. So why would this, they may know why this is being brought up, they may have knowledge of that.
There's a lot of reading.
Yes, this is just for the good Lord, I'm drawing the Chamber of Commerce. It's already dictated how that flows, and this keeps just the chamber members from being run through, the process to get them rotated out. So that's the only purpose of this.
But each city gets one appointment, right?
That has a Chamber of Commerce, yes.
It changes each year, who that is, right?
Adds a rotation, yes.
Is it always the president of the chamber, or is it just a member of anybody in their community?
I don't
Into
have,
their membership?
I don't have the specific details, but it's nothing we can object to. It's the formation of that, the board, so.
Well,
I'm gonna disagree.
but it's not about objection. Our appointment is a confirmation or objection, right? Our vote on that appointment is the confirmation or objection, right?
Yes.
So my understanding of how this is, it's a member of the Chamber of Commerce, so I don't see this as a self-perpetuating member. I mean, anybody who's a paying dues member of a Chamber of Commerce, if there's a businessman or woman who wants to be on the tourism board, can submit their information for consideration, to the commission to be appointed if they're a member of the Chamber of Commerce. So I that's my interpretation.
I make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
So,
I'm still a little curious about it. I don't quite understand. I want to ask one question, because I may second it, but I just need to know what does it change? I know it brings in, just explain to me.
this allows the Chamber of Commerce's to pick their own members to be on the tourism board, and it bypasses the county commission of having that oversight authority. I'm personally opposed to that.
It says, under page 57, one member from a city chamber of commerce within Sumner County to be rotated by city every year, beginning with White House, then on to Westmoreland, Portland, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Goodlettsville. So it's rotated in that order, and it's got to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce.
I just think that just by default, that takes it, county commission, of course, but it takes it away from the citizens having any say-so, and he's appointed. So I'm completely opposed to that.
Yeah, so, it could be anybody in that organization that pays dues, and whereas we used to have authority to vet that person, we would not be able to vet that person anymore.
Correct.
I don't like that either. That's what it sounded like when it came. I just wanted to know the nature of how it came to us and why. I wish somebody would, who brought this up, Shannon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergdorf? I wish she was here to speak on that, because I would like to know why.
Well, there's a motion, we're at the second time, is there a second to that motion?
No, I want to learn more about it, and why it came. I can't support it.
I can't answer the question for you, I'm not supporting this, I don't know.
Well, Mr. Hyde had made a motion, so if he knew a little bit more about it, as to why it came
I
about.
don't know any more about it. I think it's just silly to sit here and question something as simple as, a legitimate organization like the Chamber of Commerce having representation on the, let them choose who is on the tourism board. It's one person out of how many are on the tourism board? 7 or 8 and 9. It's a nice input from the city. But you can do what you want to, but I think it's so silly.
Was it a matter about efficiency? Is that why we don't want to vet that person? Or just to save time? I just want to learn why it came about, why it changed, what we've been doing. I want somebody to speak about that, so without knowing, I can't. Maybe more comes down later.
We have a
Mr.
motion.
Chairman, I'll try to shed a little light on it. I'm not that well versed in it, but, for a while, it used to be the United Chambers had a representative on the tourism board. Since we no longer have a United Chambers, they wanted to keep a chamber person representing that board, so they just rotated through the cities. This isn't anything new. It's been on the books for a while. So,
That wasn't the nature of my question, no. It was.
obviously it wasn't, but that's the information I have for you.
I'd have said on that part. That was a given. I know why they have somebody really going on there. I just don't like the fact that we used to have a say-so, and by passing this resolution, we wouldn't have a say-so.
And future, sorry, I was gonna say
I
future.
might understand why. Sorry.
Future commissions wouldn't have to, I mean, I just think that the further we get away from it being, who cares if it's me being on the commission? I'm saying just down the road, I don't like moving more authority away from the citizen. Because we're supposed to be the direct representatives of the citizen, whether we are or not, is up to us. But I think that gets really worrisome. It's not that I don't love the Chamber of Commerce, it's great. And I don't have any ill feelings toward that. I'm just saying, I just think that moving it away with it being tourism, that's something that maybe somebody's not a member of the Chamber of Commerce, but they, I don't know. I can't think of it, for instance, but I just think, I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out why we would move it away from the way it is currently and why it would be important to move it to that. And then, I don't know if you could speak to that, Mr. Hunt, but that's all I'm asking, because it just seems a little bit like there's not a real reason to do that.
No, I don't have anything to say. I think it's nonsensical, but we need to just move on if that's the attitude of the people here.
So there is a motion on the floor by Chairman Hyde, and we had a second. All right, the motion by Dr. Like a second. All right, item G is a rule change to move recognition before public comment. I'll make a motion to approve this. This is something that gets done at every commission meeting. We always ask to change the agenda, but this just permanently moves public comment after recognition of the public. Serious discussion. I think second. I love it. All favor say aye. All right. All right. Proposed dedication of Roger Memorial Bridge from Highway Commission. Motion by Commissioner Teachner, second by Commissioner Jones. All favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item I, approved meeting date for County Commission year 2025. So page 60 to 61. Is there any questions? Motion by Commissioner Teachner. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. All favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Tourism, item J, Tourism Director appointee. This was not, I guess, the person. It's not included in this package. I don't know who this is. I know Commissioner Bergdorf had emailed the entire commission about this, but I don't have any information, so I'm not, if there's any information about who this person is, I don't have it with me, but I'm fine moving it on to the full commission for discussion.
If I may, just quickly, this is a guy that's currently filling his interim, and they're just trying to get this, into a full position so that they can negotiate contract terms with them, is my understanding.
Commissioner Bergdorf had emailed the entire commission with this guy's information, or his name, I think, or the situation, but I don't think it wasn't it was a last minute.
I'll make a motion.
I don't know, I just don't know, is that a motion to move it forward with the information included, so we know who this is?
Yes.
And the background information? So that is a motion.
Well, if we would like to have that at the desk of the commissioners, we can do that, but, we appoint the tourism board, they have a job to do, their job is to hire a tourism director, they've done that on a temporary basis, they're satisfied, and the natural thing is to hire them.
I'm not saying that, with the motion that,
I'll get it in the packet.
Who it is, their background, resume,
yes,
all that stuff, information, would be great, for the full commission.
Is it proper to come to legislative, or should I have gone to committee? I just don't understand why.
I don't know if we covered that in the resolution, to be honest with you on this one.
Let's make sure we're doing proper protocol.
I don't know if the resolution covers that one or not.
Call out on page
As far as like I would assume this is kind of like a library board. The library board chooses a director for a library, and then come to committees for confirmation.
That's what it is, and I'm second, Mr. Hodges.
Can I make sure one clarity?
Yeah.
Because I know that there was a little bit of, I would really like it, just instead of just being on the desk of the commissioners, just so the folks can read.
It will be part of the
Will be
packet.
in the packet, yeah. just
That was my
make sure.
motion.
Yeah, okay, good, good. I second that, or whatever.
Do a motion and read.
Got it.
Is there any more discussion on this? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item A, move for, pass on the full commission, have a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Zoning items A and B, this is for document purposes only. These are both, first and the second reading, and the, second one the first reading. So the first item A will go on to the full commission next Monday. Any questions? All right, we'll move to adjourn.
Second.
You didn't mention B, you said A, we're going for commission, what's B?
This is the first reading.
It needs a second.